Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. All products and services featured are independently chosen by editors. However, soaps.com may receive a commission on orders placed through its retail links, and the retailer may receive certain auditable data for accounting purposes. At Newman, Phyllis talks to herself about taking Victor's power and props her feet up on the desk. Enter Lauren, who is warned against raining on Phyllis's parade. But, surprise, she's come to praise her. At Chancellor, Billy is also talking to himself. He won't get stabbed in the back by someone who claims to love him again. All but twirling his mustache, he declares that Chancellor is all mine and mine alone. Sally appears and he wonders if she's had a change of heart. Sally came by to inform him that she hired Audra as her co-COO. He wants to play devil's advocate, but she doesn't care what he thinks and explains she cleared it with Jill. Billy learns she's also changed the name from Abbott Communications to Spectra Charles. He decides not to argue and turns on the charm, convincing her to have dinner with him. Back at Newman, Phyllis can hardly believe it, but Lauren is over-the-top thrilled about her knocking Victor off his perch, heralding it as a victory for all womankind. That said, she shoots Phil a skeptical look when she claims she did this for her children's future, forcing her to admit it was also for herself. Lauren hedges to find out if Phyllis is having second thoughts. Phyllis snaps. "Why would I do that?" Her friend points out she loves Nick and doesn't want to hurt him or their daughter. Her friendship with Sharon must also be on shaky ground. She's sure Red is feeling some remorse even if she won't admit it. Phyllis complains that most people, even her kids, have fallen for the Newman propaganda machine. Nick tried to shame her into giving the company back. It really cut deep. Lauren's sorry, and offers to take her out to celebrate. Pill poppin' at Crimson Lights, Victoria tells Sharon that she's looking for Nick. The blonde admits he's been preoccupied with Matt Clark. Victoria guesses she won't be able to drag him to Milan. Sharon confides that Nick hasn't even recovered from his injury yet. Cut to Nick, in the back alley holding a fentanyl pill from his little pink baggie. Grimacing, he throws it into the snow, but then retrieves it and swallows it down. Inside, Sharon discusses Nick's painkiller crisis with Victoria before switching over to the subject of Phyllis. Sharon insists she can see the pain and regret beneath the redhead's exterior. Nick enters, and Sharon leaves him and his sister to talk. Nick tries to talk Victoria out of going to Milan, asking as Summer's father that she not involve her in this. He regrets calling Summer and wants her to decide for herself how to deal with her mother. Sharon interjects that if Phyllis's kids stop speaking to her, it might make her dig in her heels harder. They debate whether Victor's plan will work until Nick gets a text from an unknown caller asking for $5 million to disappear for good. Sharon asks, "Is it Matt?" Nick texts back, "Come see me to work things out." Matt texts back with a laughing emoji that $5 million is the price to leave his son alone. Nick updates Victoria and Sharon, who declares they have to lure him out of hiding. Billy's warning in the club. Billy jovially approaches Lauren and Phyllis, who explains that her pal's the only one not judging her. Billy's surprised. Lauren says her husband's not tethered to Victor, and it's not secret she's not a fan. Billy's not convinced that Lauren's not trying to talk Phyllis out of this, and warns Red to proceed with caution as he trots off. Lauren's mildly offended, and offers to hear Phyllis's side of things. Phyllis says she sees this as her last chance for success. She can't get over people being upset that she bested Victor. Lauren is sorry and will do whatever she can to help her. Phyllis says, "Come work for me." A futile attempt. Sally catches up with Audra in Society. She's designing their new logo and preparing press blasts. When Audra notices her friend is off, Sally admits she went to see Billy, who invited her to dinner. Appalled, Audra tries to talk her out of it, reminding her she'll never come first with him. Sally insists it's just a final goodbye. Sure, January. Audra continues campaigning against it. The final scenes at Society. Sally insists she won't be talked into getting back together with Billy. Audra's unconvinced and urges her to go in strong and resolved, thinking about what's best for herself. At the club, Lauren is flattered by Phyllis's offer, but she's content where she is right now. Phyllis argues she's complacent and is due for an adventure. They could take over the world. At Crimson Lights, Sharon wonders how to lure Matt out of hiding. Nick has an idea, something he won't be able to resist. The tension in Genoa City had reached a boiling point once again, the kind of pressure that seemed to build in cycles, like the seasons turning over the same familiar ground but always with a sharper edge. Sharon Newman sat at a small table in Crimson Lights, her fingers wrapped tightly around a coffee cup that had long gone cold. The aroma of fresh brews and pastries usually comforted her, but today it felt cloying, almost suffocating. Across from her, Victoria Newman leaned forward, her voice low but urgent as they spoke in hushed tones about the one man who had haunted their family for decades, Matt Clark. Matt's name alone stirred memories Sharon had spent years trying to bury. Decades earlier, he had been the charming but volatile high school athlete who dated her briefly before she chose Nick. The rejection had festered into something dark. He had attacked her, violated her trust and body in a way that left scars no amount of time could fully heal. Then came the night he was shot, the accusations that landed Nick in prison for a crime he didn't commit, the trial that tore their young lives apart. Matt had slithered away eventually, but the damage lingered like smoke in the walls of their shared history. Now he was back, released from whatever cage had held him, and his focus had sharpened on Noah, Nick, and Sharon's son. The threats had started as vague messages, escalating into something more sinister, a promise of harm unless demands were met. Sharon's eyes flicked toward the door every few seconds, half expecting Nick to burst in with news, half dreading it. Victoria noticed the habit and reached across the table, placing a hand over Sharon's. "He's going to be okay," she said, though the words sounded more like a prayer than a certainty. "Nick's tough. And we're not letting Matt win this time." Just then, the door swung open, and Nick strode in. His face etched with exhaustion and something fiercer, determination mixed with barely contained rage. He had been out chasing leads, following digital breadcrumbs that led nowhere, his phone clutched like a weapon. He slid into the seat beside Sharon, nodding a quick greeting to his sister before pulling out his phone. "It's him," he said simply, voice flat. "Matt texted again." Sharon's breath caught. Victoria leaned in closer. Nick tapped the screen, pulling up the exchange. The messages had started innocently enough from an unknown number, taunting, probing. Nick had replied earlier, trying to draw him out with a casual, "Come see me to work things out." Matt's response had been a laughing emoji followed by the demand, $5 million to disappear for good and leave Noah alone. No negotiations, no proof of life or intent beyond the cold calculation of extortion. Sharon stared at the words, her stomach twisting. Is it really him? Could it be a bluff? Nick shook his head. It's Matt. The phrasing, the emoji, he always loved his little games. And he knows about Noah. That's not public knowledge unless he's been watching us. Victoria's jaw tightened. 5 million. He thinks he can just demand it like we're some ATM. Victor would laugh in his face. Victor's plan isn't working, Nick muttered. There had been talk of Victor handling things his way, shadowy contacts, pressure from above, but Matt had stayed slippery, one step ahead. We can't wait for Dad to play chess. We need to force his hand. Sharon looked between them, the old protectiveness surging. Noah was her baby, even if he was grown now, living his life far from Genoa City's chaos, or so they had thought. The idea of Matt circling him, waiting for a moment of vulnerability, made her blood run cold. We have to lure him out, she said quietly at first, then with more conviction. Make him think he's getting what he wants. Set a trap. Nick met her gaze, and for a moment, the years fell away. They had faced so much together, Cassie's death, Faith's kidnapping, endless betrayals and reconciliations. This felt like another chapter in their endless saga, but one where the stakes involved their child. Exactly, he said. We pretend to negotiate. Arrange a drop or a meeting. Somewhere we control the ground. I can wire the money, or make it look like I am, and when he shows, we end this. Victoria frowned. It's risky. What if he brings backup? Or what if he hurts someone before we can grab him? We won't let that happen, Sharon insisted. We involve the police quietly. Or Victor's security. But it has to look real. Matt's greedy, he'll bite if he thinks the cash is close. They spent the next hour hashing out details in low voices, the coffee shop's ambient chatter providing cover. Nick suggested using an abandoned warehouse on the edge of town, one the Newmans owned through a shell company. It had cameras, multiple exits, and room to maneuver. Sharon worried about Noah's safety. Should they warn him? Pull him back to Genoa City? But Nick argued against it. Tipping him off might spook Matt into acting sooner. Better to keep Noah in the dark, under protection from afar. As they spoke, Sharon felt a strange mix of fear and resolve. She had spent so much of her life reacting to crises, mental health struggles, family dramas, losses that carved pieces from her heart. This time, she wanted to act, to strike first. Nick seemed to sense it. He squeezed her hand under the table, a silent promise that they were in this together. Meanwhile, across town in the sleek offices of Fenmore's, Lauren Fenmore Baldwin sat behind her desk, reviewing quarterly reports that blurred before her eyes. The fashion world moved fast, but lately, her mind had been elsewhere. Michael's legal battles, family tensions, the constant pull between her empire and her personal life. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Phyllis Summers strode in without waiting for an invitation, her red hair catching the light like a warning flare. "Lauren," Phyllis began, closing the door behind her. "We need to talk." Lauren raised an eyebrow. Their history was complicated, friendships tested by betrayals, alliances forged in fire. Phyllis wasn't one for small talk. "What's this about?" Phyllis sat down, leaning forward with that intense energy she always carried. "I know things have been rocky, but you're good at what you do. Better than most. And Newman Enterprises is expanding its media and lifestyle divisions. We need someone with your vision to head it up." Lauren blinked. "You're offering me a job? At Newman?" "Not just a job," Phyllis said. "A position on the executive level. Autonomy, resources, a chance to shape something big. Victor's on board, he respects what you've built here. And honestly, I could use an ally who isn't afraid to push back." Lauren leaned back, processing. The offer was unexpected, almost absurd given their past clashes. But there was truth in it. Fenmore's was stable, but Newman offered scale, influence, a chance to step into a larger arena. She thought of Michael's warnings about getting too entangled with the Newmans, of the chaos that swirled around them. Yet the challenge appealed to her. "Why now?" she asked. "What's the angle?" Phyllis smiled thinly. "No angle. Just opportunity. Think about it. You don't have to answer today." Lauren nodded slowly. "I'll consider it." Phyllis left as abruptly as she arrived, leaving Lauren staring at the door. The offer hung in the air like a temptation, a door cracking open to new possibilities, or new dangers. She picked up her phone, debating whether to call Michael, but set it down again. This was hers to weigh first. Back at Crimson Lights, the plotting continued. Nick sketched out a rough timeline on a napkin. Contact Matt with a counteroffer, lower the amount to make it believable, insist on an in-person exchange. Sharon suggested adding a personal touch, something to bait his ego. "Tell him you want to settle it face to face, like men. He always thought he was tougher than you." Nick's lips twitched in a grim smile. "He still does. That's his weakness." Victoria texted security details to Victor, looping him in without fully committing to his more ruthless methods. The family had learned the hard way that Victor's solutions often came with collateral damage. This time, they wanted control. As the afternoon wore on, the three of them sat in a tight circle, voices low, plans solidifying. Sharon felt a flicker of hope amid the dread. They weren't victims anymore. They were fighters. Matt had terrorized them once, but Genoa City had changed them, hardened them. Nick's protectiveness for Noah burned bright, Sharon's maternal instinct fierce, Victoria's strategic mind sharp. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows through the windows. Nick's phone buzzed again, a new message from the unknown number. He read it silently, then looked up. He's interested. Wants proof of funds first. Sharon exhaled. Then we give it to him. And when he comes for the rest. We'll be ready, Nick finished. In that moment, the coffee shop felt less like a refuge and more like a war room. Lauren, miles away, pondered her own crossroads, the unexpected offer lingering like a promise or a trap. Genoa City never slept, and its dramas unfolded in layers: love, revenge, ambition, family. Today, two stories intersected in tension. One family plotting to end a long nightmare. Another woman weighing a life-altering choice. The trap was set, the offer made. What came next would test them all, as it always did in this city of endless entanglements. Sharon glanced at Nick, their eyes meeting in silent understanding. Whatever happened, they faced it together. And for the first time in a long while, that felt like enough. The wind rattled the bare branches outside Sharon's kitchen window, carrying with it the brittle chill of early evening. She stood at the counter, hands braced against the cool granite, staring into the dark yard as though she might find answers there. The house was quiet, unnaturally so, and every small creak felt amplified by the weight pressing on her chest. Nick leaned in the doorway, watching her. "You haven't said anything in 5 minutes," he finally murmured. "That's not like you." Sharon let out a tight breath. "I'm thinking." "I know. That's what worries me." She turned to face him, her expression sharpened by determination. "If we sit here and do nothing, Matt wins. He's counting on us to be afraid. To wait. To hope he'll just disappear." Nick crossed the room in 3 steady strides. "He already disappeared, Sharon. That's the problem. He knows how to stay hidden." "Everyone slips," she said quietly. "Especially men like him." Matt had once been a shadow in their lives, dangerous, manipulative, convinced he could control the narrative simply by staying one step ahead. When things unraveled, he vanished. No forwarding address. No digital trail. But the mess he left behind lingered like smoke after a fire. Nick rested a hand on the back of a chair. "You're proposing we flush him out. I'm proposing we give him something he can't ignore." She met his eyes. "Something that makes him believe we have leverage." Nick's gaze flickered with understanding. "You want him to think we found proof." Sharon nodded. "Or that we're close to it." Silence stretched between them, charged and heavy. The thought of deliberately provoking Matt wasn't comfortable, but neither was the idea of living under the possibility of his return. Nick exhaled slowly. "He's paranoid. If he thinks we're onto him, he won't run. He'll try to fix it." "Exactly. And we'll be ready." She walked to the table, flipping open a folder thick with papers. Phone records. A few old photographs. Bank statements. Most of it circumstantial, but arranged carefully. It looked damning. "I've been organizing everything," she admitted. "If anyone glanced at this, they'd think we're hours away from turning it over to the police." Nick skimmed the top page. "We'd need him to know this exists." "I was thinking about that." Sharon's voice softened. "He still checks the old email account. The one he thinks nobody knows about." Nick's brows rose. "You're sure?" "I tested it last week." A blank message. It was opened within 15 minutes. Nick gave a low whistle. "So he's watching. He's always watching." They began mapping it out that night, sitting at the kitchen table long after the sky turned fully dark. Sharon would draft an email, vague but pointed. Not accusatory, not overtly threatening. Just enough to suggest that someone had uncovered documents linking Matt to the financial discrepancies and was preparing to go public. Nick would arrange to be overheard in the right place, mentioning a meeting with investigators. Word traveled in certain circles faster than wildfire. "He won't be able to resist," Sharon said, almost to herself. "He'll want to know what we know." And he'll reach out, Nick finished. If he does, we trace it. Nick studied her face. You're sure about this? Once we pull this trigger, there's no going back. Sharon's jaw tightened. He doesn't get to haunt us forever. The email went out just after midnight. Sharon stared at the screen after hitting send, her pulse pounding in her ears. The message was brief, references to evidence, a hint at an imminent meeting, and a line that could only have been understood by Matt, a coded nod to a shared moment from years ago. An unmistakable signal that this was personal. Nick squeezed her shoulder. Now we wait. Waiting, they soon discovered, was its own torture. By the following afternoon, there was nothing. No reply. No sign of activity. Maybe he changed accounts, Nick suggested, though without conviction. He didn't. Sharon paced the living room. He can't help himself. As if summoned by her insistence, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She froze. Nick's eyes locked onto hers. Answer it. Sharon swallowed, then tapped the screen. Hello. For a moment, only silence greeted her. Then a breath. Faint but unmistakable. You're playing a dangerous game, Matt's voice said softly. Sharon's spine went rigid, but she forced herself to remain steady. I don't know what you mean. A low chuckle came through the line. Don't insult me. You always did have a flair for drama, but this? This is reckless. Nick leaned closer, trying to catch every word. If you're calling to threaten me, Sharon said coolly, you're too late. I'm calling to warn you. You have no idea what you're digging into. Sharon's grip tightened on the phone. Maybe I know more than you think. A pause. A crack in his confidence. You should let sleeping dogs lie, he said finally. Maybe the dog already woke up, she shot back. The line went dead. Nick exhaled sharply. We've got him. Sharon nodded, though her heart hammered wildly. He's rattled. He called. That means he's close enough to monitor. Already, Nick had set measures in motion. A friend in cybersecurity was ready to trace any incoming contact. The call had pinged from a prepaid device, routed twice, but there were breadcrumbs. 2 towns over, Nick said after receiving confirmation. He's not as far gone as he wants us to believe. Sharon sank onto the couch. He wouldn't go far. He never intended to disappear forever. The next phase required finesse. Sharon sent another message, this one implying a specific time and place where the evidence would be reviewed. A cafe just outside town. Public enough to deter violence, private enough for observation. If he shows, Nick said, we don't confront him. We follow. Even as they planned, another drama was unfolding across town. Lauren had just finished reorganizing her office when her assistant knocked lightly on the door. There's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent. Lauren glanced at the clock. Did he have an appointment? No. But he mentioned a business proposal you'd want to hear. That piqued her interest. Send him in.